retirement looks good on you.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
You enjoying it?
Of course, I love being retired.
You miss it at all?
I'm gonna say no right now, but probably in a couple of years I'll probably miss it. But right now, not at all.
Is it because you're just so focused to forward and moving forward?
Yeah, I keep telling people when you get out, take some time. Right. I got that advice. I planned on using it, but then when I got out, just jumped right into it.
Why is that, you think?
Just to keep going, to keep have something to do.
But that might lend itself, because I really picked up on it yesterday when we were having dinner, to be honest. You have this very business mindset about you that I don't think, and maybe most soldiers don't, let alone soldiers, Green Berets. I mean, I know a lot of Green Berets. Not all of them are going into business for themselves. You seem to have this very entrepreneurial business mindset. Have you always had that?
I don't know if I could put a finger to it where I've always had it. I've always wanted to, do something, right? I always want to stay busy. Back the entire time I was in Special Forces, Green Berets, I wanted to do that was to help people. And I think being an entrepreneur, you have the most freedom to do what you want to do and what you feel is your purpose that you want to do. I have a friend, Aaron Bush, has a great saying that's work for purpose, not for profit. So I'm trying to keep that mindset. As long as it's purposeful and I enjoy what I'm doing, it's helping people, I'll be good to go.
But even in like the buying and flipping houses and the cryo business you were involved in, you just seem to have this kind of mindset where I think it's kind of somewhat had to play into setting you up today and getting you going with your business, which we'll get into.
I never lived anywhere longer than 3 years, right? My dad was in the Army, he did 30 years. We moved all over the world. Most of it was in Europe because, for his time period, right? That was the hot spot. But he was always super busy. I guess, pretty much grew up just watching him work, and it probably just translated over to now to keep it going. Because I always feel like if you're sitting at the house not doing anything, like, I knew you need to do that sometimes, but I just gotta keep moving.
Well, I'm the same way, man. I can't sit too long. I ETS'd in 2006, started my own business in 2010, and then it's just been that's been the story ever since. So I get that, and I can relate and have a lot of respect for entrepreneurs and business owners. Now, when did you become a Green Beret again?
I went through selection in October of 1999.
So pre 9/11.
And then because back then there were some requirements, had a security clearance before, you went, mine took a minute, just because, who knows?
Because you never lived anywhere longer than 3 years?
Yeah. But once I got in, is right as the war kicked off.
Interesting.
Right. So my time, essentially from 2002 to 2022, was just running nonstop. I'm not the only one, right? Thousands of people live that, but I think our time and our generation that did this 20 years, 2 decades in the Army, is completely different than anyone else before us, because obviously there's been wars and crazy stuff going on since the start of time, but not at a constant state of war for 20 years, where all you're living is, you deploy.
The multiple rotations.
Yeah, back-to-back rotations.
Wow.
With no reset. So
when was your first trip and to where after the GWOT, or after when the GWOT kicked off?
If you're talking about for overseas, it was Afghanistan. And to be truthful about it, when my first deployment in Afghanistan was 2008. So even though I got there 2003 to 7th Special Forces Group, all my first deployments ended up being to South America.
Interesting.
Right?
Yeah.
Wanting to get in the fight, you have all your friends in different groups, and then wanted to go, and then boom. As soon as
had your chance.
Yep. Went in 2008, and then it was back to back to Afghanistan. All my trips, I never went to Iraq. It was all Afghanistan. I think in total I went 6 times.
And that's the general consensus of the guys. They want to get in the fight. They want to go do what they were trained to do.
Yep.
Huh? Now, 5 active duty SF groups in the military. I mean, each one kind of covers a different part of the world, kind of their AO. Is that why 7th Group, obviously, you were down in South America more often?
Right. And then we didn't really have a break because we would go to Afghanistan, come back, reset, and then we'd jump into a South American deployment in between, and then back to Afghanistan.
What was the mission in South America? What were the deployments down there like?
All were different. When I started out, was the big counter narcotics was while we were down there training the Colombian army. I get them on the security force assistance, help them fight the drug wars.
Jeez.
So it was interesting. Got to go to Colombia, Brazil, Guyana, a lot of different spots.
Wow. Now, along those, so did you have a South America deployment prior? You said from '03 to
Yeah, that was
you were doing the South America stuff.
yeah. So I'd probably already had before over to Afghanistan like 5 or 6 deployments, but it's completely different, right? You can't; those aren't the same kind of deployments.
Did some of those lessons though? Did you have any kind of lessons or experiences that kind of maybe made you better and prepared you for Afghanistan?
I think so because before you deploy your first time, you know what to expect, right?
Yeah.
You're maybe not ready, but once you start deploying, you realize, once you're there, you got to be ready, you got to be trained, have all your stuff watertight. So I just had a better perspective of going into Afghanistan. But I mean, it was that's where you really learn your job, right? If you're going into combat,
You got to be in combat.
you can either do your job or you can't do your job.
Right.
So and you learn a lot faster. We have things on the team, right? If you show up to a team and you don't deploy, you get, the whole new guy treatment probably over a year before you can get yourself to fit in, right? If you show up to, we had a lot of guys just fly in and join the team in combat. They are probably assimilated to the team life in about a week.
Wow.
Because if they could do their job, instant brotherhood, right? And if they couldn't, the luxury of combat is you could, fire them that day and send them on their way.
Did you ever have to do that? Kick anybody off the team? Fire them?
We did. It was actually, we had a team sergeant that wasn't doing the best, and that was really hard to fire. But that was a group decision, right? The whole team. It's not just one person.
Yikes, that is tough.
It's all right. We got an amazing one after that.
So we were having this conversation earlier with the sergeant major that was on and a couple other guests. It's kind of like the military. It's like this laboratory that grows you, and it places a certain level of responsibility on your shoulders at each level, and it increases. As an example, if you're a new guy, fresh out of the Q course, and you show up, you're not the team sergeant. You're at the bottom. You got to grow up and have that experience. Would you agree with that, or have you seen that? How the military grooms leaders and just increases the level of responsibility on your shoulders?
Yeah, and I used to think that they weren't. Sometimes we didn't get the training. We got the training we needed for the leadership position after we had the leadership position. It was never lined up. But after working with the private sector, I see really in the military we get more leadership training than formalized going to school. If you think about if you're enlisted, you go E4 school, PLDC or whatever it's called now, right?
Right.
And then you go to BNOC, ANOC, each rank, right? E5, E6, E7 has a course, and then the officers, you have multiple leadership schools and trainings,
but it's
formalized.
It's still on that person to step up to the plate, though,
Right.
in the real world situations.
To be able to do it.
Would you say, and I guess a Green Beret is much different than the conventional unit. Most want to be there. Number one, volunteered multiple times to show up. Went through much more longer training than other conventional forces. They want to be there. They want to step up to the plate. They want to assume that level of leadership.
Yeah, no, it's there definitely because you work too hard. If you spend 2 years in school, right, or a year and a half to 2 years,
Right.
depending on what MOS or job that you chose, you got a lot invested. They're there. You want to be there. You worked really hard, and once you get there, it's the best place. You'll realize once you're not on a special forces team, that's always the best job that you ever had, right? Sometimes it was, man, I hate this team or I hate what we're doing. But I can tell you, after going to the more staff-like jobs afterwards, the worst day on a ODA is better than any best day
In
as
the
a
office.
staff officer. Yeah, this hands down. I mean,
But you did put in your time on the ODA, and you got to take that experience up to
uh,
the higher levels, maybe.
I think I did about a decade, 10 years or 11 years on the ODA. So
Damn. So what was your first Afghanistan deployment? I mean, going over there, saying goodbye to the family, going off, doing your
yeah,
job, a little bit excitement, a little bit nervous.
yeah, it was all that roll into one, right? Nervous, but wanted to go, right? Getting late into the fight, which I made up for. You know,
Huh.
also get our deployments were longer back then. But no, it was a little bit different for me as well because I had just recently switched, right, from being a non-commissioned officer. So I started off as a weapons sergeant, then an intel sergeant, and you're talking about wanting more responsibility and more say-so. So I thought that route was, and it turned out to be true, to become a special forces warrant officer. And that was my first deployment to Afghanistan. Was a WO1, right, a
No
warrant
kidding. So
officer
your first Afghan was as the warrant.
as a warrant. So
Wow.
it was real steep learning curve, right? Every guy on the team had been at least 2 times, right, to Afghanistan. I might have had more South American deployments, but that doesn't mean shit when you're in Afghanistan.
Interesting.
Uh,
Because you were in warrant school for how long, huh? Is that why?
yeah, more was it 5 months back then?
Okay.
But yeah, you get there and show. I went to an amazing team, still the best team, and got a great captain. We had all great guys, and it synced right. I found it was the place I needed to be, and it worked out right.
What was the mission on that deployment?
We lived in where did we live? In Gresh, right in the Helmand,
Tough.
and then ours was to go across into Mainwan province and see what was going on over there. If, we used to call it movement to contact because every time we just drive somewhere and end up getting troops in contact. But ours was just going out, seeing what's there, and then reporting it back and moving the ball forward, whatever the commanders wanted us to do for that rotation.
And did that deployment change you at all, or different perspectives, learn different things?
Yeah, 100%. That one deployment there changed my whole life. Not besides being in combat, but on that, we lost 3 guys at one time. Right, it's the most traumatic thing I ever experienced. Where you watched the captain of the team, senior weapons guy, and senior engineer all disappear in 1 second. Right, there's a IED initiated ambush, and they got hit, and literally there was the time we were transitioning from Humvees, right, the little trucks, up to the RG, the big armored RG-33 and whatnot. So the enemy at that time had started building, way bigger bombs to combat that, and our guys ended up hitting an IED that was intended for like an RG, like.
And you're still in a Humvee.
And they were still in a Humvee. It was gone, right? You couldn't even see where the Humvee was. It was horrible.
Were you in the convoy at the time?
I was truck number 2. We had just got a new captain. He had been on the job 1 hour.
Oh. Was he in Vehicle 1, TC?
He was. He was in Vehicle 1. And it was different. And I would never think, whatever it is, right? Survivor's guilt. That normally was always truck 1 as the warrant.
Really?
Yeah, it was always truck 1. And then that day he wanted to take the lead, right? New captain. I'm like, all right. Put him with the most senior guys.
And why day 1? Did he come late?
No, he was, right? We had a captain that had been on the team. I was long in the tooth. My best leader ever had, right? Aaron Bush. I always give him a shout out. He's still around. He came in straight out of the Q course. We took him on our left seat, right seat. The transition molded into the team instantly. We actually did at that time they named the missions, right? We did a level 2 con op, which was like a kill capture mission, right? The most dangerous mission we have, and he went on one of those.
Fit right in.
Fit right in. hit jackpot, right? He's feeling good on his first, left seat, right seat. And then when we did the transition, we were moving back to do another smaller, not dangerous, at all. Minus being everything's dangerous. And got hit with that ambush and lost 3 people, right? So OD is 12 guys. You lost a third of the team. And that, at the time, set me up where, one, you got to know your job because the warrant's the number 2. So instantly, I'm trying to control and lead the team in probably the most chaotic position that you could ever. That's not how you want to take charge, right? Got it done, got it, but it reset my whole perspective on life of anything. Always live for purpose, right? Like I said, right? And make sure you're doing what you want to do and put it all into it. Because I saw that you can literally be here one second and gone.
And this was your first Afghanistan deployment, you said, right? Okay.
Yep.
Wow.
It was losing those 3 guys reshaped my mind. And I mean, shoot, I myself got blown up 2 more times on that trip. Some other folks, but it was a rough trip. Did a lot of great things, right, for America. But you're asking how to reset and really put myself into what I'm doing, whether it's for Imperio or selling real estate, or it's just that 1 second where 3 people were there and then they weren't there.
Oof.
So it was life change, right? People always ask the defining moment. Well, what is it? People say the birth of their child, which is amazing, right? A human comes in, or some significant thing from their childhood, which I had all of those, but watching 3 of your friends disappear and die in front of you makes you want to, live more for them, right? If you ever feel down and out, I think about it all the time. Like before, when you're running a lot and you didn't want to run, and I think of my friends that don't have legs anymore, and I'm like, let me get my fat butt up and go for a run. 'Cause they would probably want to go running, right? So that's what put me into just being all in everything I do.
And how long after that ambush was the rest of your deployment?
That was in the middle of the deployment, so we probably had another 4 months to go.
Did you guys get more personnel replaced?
Big change. The captain we just dropped off, we went back and picked up.
Wow.
And he took back over. So his perspective was that was a hard time on him too, right? Because he had been in charge.
And was he going to redeploy and go home?
No, he was going up high, achiever. He was going up to take his next job because he had actually got promoted.
Got it.
And then the rest of the deployment, we had a major as a team leader.
Oh, my God.
Always respect for him because everyone's like, man, it's going to kill your career. He's like, I'm here for the boys, right? And he came back as a major. It didn't kill his career, right? He's uber successful in the military.
Wow. I didn't know that part of the story, man. Wow.
So he came back, and then the team sergeant we also had dropped off. We picked back up because the new team sergeant we had gotten was not strong enough to lead. That's the one we fired. He couldn't recover from that. He wouldn't leave the base. And
that's tough.
You can't do that.
Yeah, you got to keep your mind. It's one of the things about, soldiers in general, but especially Green Berets. You got to keep your mind in the fight even after that.
Yeah. Instantly. Like, you can't just stop, right? There's still people shooting at us after they're blown up.
So IED went off, ambush. You're immediately reacting to contact and trying to solve that problem first.
Guys are doing their thing. Headquarters on, hey, you got air, so you got the aircraft, your air support above talking to you. Got the head shed and Kandahar talking to you. You got your guys hollering at you. Either that. Once again, another perspective on life. There's nothing I've done after that where obviously get stressed out, but I'm like, well, shit. No one's died. No one's shooting at me.
Right.
So
really keeps things
in
perspective.
What made me be able to do it, one was my training. And then I had, like I said, the best ODA ever, right? The guys, the boys, if you...
Pros.
They were, right? That's why you want to go be in Special Forces, work for people or with people like that.
So how was it then on that particular ODA after you went home after that deployment?
It took a lot for it to reset, right? We were close. One of our guys had just joined the team when we got back after he'd been on team for a year or two. He's like, that was the most. I didn't even know what to do when he came to join the team because he knew we just got back, he knew one of the guys he was replacing had died on that trip. He's like, Eric, I don't even know what to say when I came in the room. I was like, you did good. You didn't say shit.
Huh.
So, he assimilated. But yeah, but the guys got it together and we kept going. And I mean, we didn't have much because went back to the plane right after that, right? Soon after that trip, I did a solo deployment or with one other person to Guyana. I think I spent 11 months there.
Jeez.
So I was 11 months in Afghanistan. I was home for 4 months and then gone another 11 months.
How's your family deal with this?
I know I would give it, always saying, when I left, my daughter had just got born, right? And when I came back, she could talk.
Jeez.
So, but I mean, they're strong. They push through it. They always say that's what they signed up for, but.
You could say it's.
I know, but it's still hard.
When you actually do it.
Oh, yeah. I hear about it all the time now.
I always say, I only did 3, nothing like you, but I always say when I was in, I'm so happy I was single, no kids, nothing. And, the single guys have it maybe a little bit easier as far as on the family side. So then after that Ghana trip, then what?
What did I do? Came back. Then went down to Brazil for a little while. I went through there. We did some reciprocal training. Went to Amazon to go through their jungle survival training. Madness. Learned out. Jungles. They're not shiny, great places, right?
So what mindset are you building? All these just constant deployments, constant different situations, Afghanistan, combat, jungle. How is this shaping you as a person?
It comes down, I think, when you're always going through that change, different missions, everything's a different mindset. You start getting really flexible, right? And you have to take the information in, be flexible. It's not going to be like the last time you did it because you're in a different place. Shit, most of the time we're in a different country, right? Different country, different people, different mission.
Language.
And language. So I think I take that now as literally we base that off of, for Imperio with what we're trying to bring into the private sector is working together and us having that constant change and living through chaos and making decisions. We take that and that's what we're trying to give back so they don't have to go watch 3 people blow up and then figure out what to do afterwards. Or you're not trying to, hey, how do you move 20 miles in the Amazon jungle? It's all things come down to business, right? You have a challenge. You have to come up with the right team, the right equipment, and the right plan to move forward to overcome your challenge. I argue that when we learned that through being Green Berets, we've been challenged thousands of times. We have a mindset, and then obviously coined the Green Beret approach to developing high-performing teams, and we bring that. That's what we bring. We not focused. We're the practitioners, right? We can talk strategy, but when I go and help someone out, I want to give them a product. I want to give them something. I want them to walk away. If they do a program Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, I want them to be able to implement that on Monday.
So let's take a step back then. So before you got out, you had this concept of Imperio to go in and bring the Green Beret approach to kind of corporate America.
Yep.
And then I know you did a pilot program in Austin. Talk to me about this pilot program and what do you actually bring to the table and how does it go down?
The one in Austin we set up. We had a company reach out. They had a challenge where they're in their last 18 months of strategy of bringing themselves into a new market. Right, how they change what they've been doing third-party distribution. They want to make themselves, direct to the consumer.
Interesting.
So they reached out. We're like, hey, yeah, we'd love to do it. Call the guys I want to work with, give them a challenge, we get as much information. We started talking about how we would do that. If we want to do, we're selling one thing at one time, how do you change it, into that? And we came up with a strategy for it and met with them. It went pretty great over 3 days. But it's tough as a startup because every time somebody wants to hire you, they're like, oh, you're brand new. We'll help you, right? If you do this one for free, we'll talk about you. And I'm like, that's great. And
it doesn't work like that.
Sometimes you might have to give something away or discount price, but you got to appreciate where you're coming from and your experience. We might be a startup, but we're not brand new. We had 25 years of experience. We're trying to share with you to help. Are we new in this space? Yeah, but the men and women I work with aren't brand new at stuff.
Right.
So, and we do 1-to-1 ratio.
Now, are you helping solve specific business needs or more of just the mindset approach?
Comes down to the client. We bring the mindset approach, or the mindset approach to each different client. But what we tell our clients is, hey, provide us with one opportunity or challenge that you want to go. Because there's short durations, right? If we get together for 3 days, it's not like you're going to solve the world in 3 days. We try, but you give us that one opportunity or challenge, and we're going to focus in on that. And that's how I teach the Green Beret approach and our 4-step methodology where we're looking at things, where we take their challenge or opportunity, work our problem, how we look at that, and that's how I train or do the actual program.
Yeah.
Instead of some made up, okay, you're in this and this is the scenario. No, we take what they have, we make it real. So any of the scenarios we're running, any of the role playing is towards what their challenge they're looking at. Because it doesn't do any good to play make-believe and get these stats unless you put it towards something they're already trying to look at.
And what are the 4 methods of approach?
It's pretty simple. It's not rocket science. So the first step is you got to define the challenge or opportunity. You know how many times you probably ran in circles and what are you really trying to solve?
Right.
You think it's X, but it's Y.
Right.
So we preach a lot on you have to actually know what we're trying to solve for. That's one of the hardest things. You ever ask a company, all right, hey, give us one challenge you want to defeat. That's tough. Well, yeah. Find one.
So it's making them really dig down deep
Of what they want to.
Right.
Yeah.
Having to come to Jesus meeting and look at themselves in the mirror and be like, this is the actual problem we need to solve. Yeah. You know what? It's not. I'm going through that myself in one of my companies. It's not easy.
It's a challenge, though. Never say problem.
It's a challenge.
The problem is automatically negative. If your kid came up to you, hey, Dad, I got a problem. Oh, God, what do? Do you crash a car? Do you get a bad grade? What happened? Right? And you're in your mind, you're not even listening to him anymore.
Got a challenge.
But if you say, hey, Dad, I got a challenge, immediately you want to help him.
Yeah.
You don't want to yell at him. You want to help him achieve his challenge, right, or overcome it. So once we define their challenge, right, then you define the environment that you're facing. It could be an outside environment. When we're talking environment, is it internal problem to the company? Is it external? Is it due to not having enough people, not having the right tech? What's your environment that you're working in? So you apply those resources correctly. You're not trying to solve a manpower problem when it's really let's say a distribution, right? But if you never look at it that way, so we do very specific of defining the environment that they're working in. Then we help them define the risk, right? Risk of action and risk of inaction. Sometimes not doing anything might be you might have it. So we make them really calculate the risk, because that's what a commander or CEO does, right? He owns the risk and he owns the responsibility.
Interesting.
So he has to know what risk he's buying.
And they're sitting down one-on-one with you and your team of Green Berets and just talking through this, working it out together?
Yep. What we do is throw them through day one through a stress event, or I've learned now in facilitation and helping people an activation event, right, to get them activated, get everything turned on, make their focus. So the one in Austin, we actually did a virtual scavenger hunt in downtown Austin.
Interesting.
And the young junior executives versus the senior. And they're paired up again with the Green Berets. We don't do anything. You're not doing anything one of our programs, and we're not going to do with you.
Wow.
So 1-to-1, they ran around. Stress was time, right, of being able to get X amount. It was impossible, right? There's too many activities, and also to see how they work together, right, and see how the team dynamic is. And we mix them up where, okay, and through getting to know them, we're like, hey, who do you normally work with? Oh, I work with Bob all the time. Cool. In this program, you're not going to talk to Bob in the next 3 days. After that stress, we do come back and talk about it, and then that's where we show, hey, how'd you attack that problem we just gave you? And they're like, oh, we didn't even think about it. Did you think any idea of what you're going to do, where you're going to start? No, you just ran out the door, right? I was like, if you do it like that, you're doing that in business. You always got to take a minute, think before you kick it off. But we set the stress up where they just want to go, and then we set the stage for that, and then we ask what were they trying to do, and that's follow that into going over the 4 steps. They learn that. We try our hardest, not do any slides, because all of us tell them how to do it, and then we do it. And then we break off into small groups, and we take the rest of the time to plan and put together in that whole 1-to-1 ratio, right? Because what's going to do if you teach somebody 4 steps and they learn it in 5 minutes, and then, hey, go in this whiteboard room and figure it out. No, it doesn't work. They'll be sitting there, and automatically they'll go back to, this is how we do it.
Sometimes the answer is so clear, but you do need to take a step back to see it. You're too in the weeds with it.
Yeah, so that's what we make them do. Then we have them put a strategy, and then however they want to provide their brief back to their most senior person they brought. They do the brief back, and then I bring in a CEO, right? One of my advisors, Guy Hart, and actually helped me, get my mind right for Imperio. He also takes their pitch, right? He's an 18-year veteran CEO.
Wow.
And then we put a senior Army guy, right? We put this last one had a colonel, an 06, who all they do is receive briefs, right, and make decisions. And the questions each of them ask are different, right? The CEO knows, he or she knows exactly what they're going to ping in on. But these people, our clients, are getting different perspectives of what this 06 colonel would ask. Like, why'd you do that? What was the risk of you doing that automatically? Like, and then obviously the Guy Hart, coming from a different industry, but being a CEO for 18 years, I mean, he knows what he's doing.
It's like bringing such an outside perspective to open your eyes and kind of help guide you down the path that you're in.
Yeah, that's what because we want to bring that experience, so you don't have to live through.
Yeah.
When we had bad experiences or we did something that didn't work and we wasted a lot of time on it. Use us for a couple of days and you don't have to do that, right?
To go back, yeah, totally. To go back to special operations side of the house, how did you see the special operations community morph and change from, call it 2000 to when you retired 6 months ago? That's 2 decades of war fighting.
Yeah, I think we were talking about that at dinner, right, last night, of how did I see it change, right? So when you got in, it was a big difference when, pre 9/11, post 9/11. And then as we started doing the fight and going to war and back to back, we got crushed. There was no one asking about how you were or, hey, you need to take some time. There was none of that. You just got to keep going. And they broke a lot of people, right? And it is what it is. I don't think anyone intentionally is like, I'm going to crush this, person's soul and make them deploy 1,000 times. It's just everyone was mission focused. Everyone wanted to be there. But as I saw the dynamic change, right, I saw a lot of people get so stuck where they didn't even know what to do when they came home, right? They just wanted to be deployed because they didn't want to go home. And I saw a change where obviously the military or special operations started to put more perspective on, hey, they need a reset when they come back. They need to talk to some psychs, or they need to take the time to go, get that knee looked at. So I started talking a lot more as I was transitioning, but it's not set there still, right? There's people that do it really well and help guys really reset, and there's some people that just say it. I'll share my experience of did all those back-to-back deployments, didn't say anything, probably should have. And then on my last, time before I started to retire, I raised my hand. I was like, hey, I need to take a knee real quick and go take care of some. And it wasn't well received because I was in a leadership position at the time. Like, hey, we put you here for a reason. Now you're asking to go do that. I was like, well, if I'm not willing to take a knee, how is anyone underneath us going to feel like they have it's okay to take some time?
Wow.
So me and my command sergeant major, both of us were like, you know what, we're going to go, to the docks and get our stuff looked at and do this. And we actually had a really good response from it, right? Because they're like, okay, they're going, so I'll go. It's not.
Lead by example.
One of our commanders used to say, does the audio match the video? Right? So we made sure our audio and video were synced up.
Wow. So what? Go ahead.
But yeah, you're saying on the change, I kind of left a really bad taste in my mouth because
That's rough.
I'm like, hey, I want to take a knee, and it wasn't. No one stopped me, right? I'm not saying people helped me. I never say the Army and Special Forces. I'm blessed for everything I learned and got from it, and the friends I gained from it. I'm just saying my last couple months didn't leave me with the best. I wasn't the happiest person. Now I've gotten over that, right? I'm past it. I understood where they were coming from because I'm looking at it from a different perspective.
Oh.
But I've seen this for the better, right? Minus, there's a lot of politics and risk, and you don't always agree with what's going on. But I think for the most part, how the guys are being trained and come to the team are leaps and bounds ahead of when we came to a team. I mean, it's the equipment, all the things they have to know. But when we first came, now we didn't have cell phones, I think, on our first deployment. It's probably a good thing. But I watched that where guys, you have to worry about, you're deployed in another country, whatever. Now, you can end up on Fox or CNN News, and one guy off of ODA can have worldwide strategic impact for one bad day.
Wow.
You think about, this guy messes up once, but the right TV camera was there, or the wrong.
Wow.
And now he's made, a lot of decision makers' life really hard. So that amount of stress on the new guys, right? We didn't have all. We
did you have to brief them all? Was that because you're right? When I was in, there's no. Did you guys have to brief the new guys on that as well?
Yeah, that's one of our main things of when you go out. You got to watch everything you do. You represent America. A lot of times you might be the first American they've ever met. So take that seriously, because mid-20s, big, freedom fighters.
Wild.
Awesome. They're feeling amazing, in shape, different country. But most of them do great, right? You have your things that happen. But
what position were you at right before you retired?
when I went out, I was a battalion warrant officer. So
break that down with
battalion,
to our listeners.
Yeah. So a battalion is anywhere from 300 to 500 people normally. I was more of a specialized battalion, so we had, I think, 265 because we had singleton operator, solo people that did missions, and our ODAs, the Jedburgh teams, which is only three, but more, for the most part, more experienced. But it was a dream job because you can make a real big impact, right? You're the commander's advisor, and you're also chief of operations, essentially, with the major who's running the operations shop, the 3 shop. And there's a lot of, you got to balance advising the commander and balance of actually knowing what the battalion's doing. So it was a great job. I loved it. Actually had a really amazing job up in Virginia before I came back, and they had asked me to come back and take a battalion, and I volunteered again to leave what I was doing in Virginia and come back down to Florida, which isn't a hard sell going from cold to Virginia back to the beach. But I came back to be with the guys, right? I wanted to retire out of the Army, still working with soldiers, and my position, the battalion, was the closest I could get back to an ODA.
What did you learn at that battalion level that maybe you didn't really pick up on at the ODA level?
Of what actually goes in, the team's like, man, we can't do this. They don't care, right? And then as you go up, you're like, oh, it's not we don't care. There's, this way you don't have the authority to do it. You don't have the permission, or the budget didn't allot. And there's so many little nuanced things to the guy on the team's like, they just don't care.
They just see the end.
They don't get it.
The answer, yeah.
Boss don't get it. And
Yeah.
And then you see both sides. And that's what you try to tell them, right? Because, hey, I've been on the team, man. This is why you can't do it. It's not that anyone doesn't want you to do it. It's we don't have the money or whatever, whatever it is. So it helped me be able to see both sides, right? From the operator perspective and then the staff officer of trying to get things approved.
Would you say that at that battalion level gave you the kind of just another level of experience and management experience that's helping Imperio nowadays?
Yeah, of course. just the amount of people, right? If you have, 10 people that you're in charge of, over 12 is different than you have
300.
responsibility of 265 or 300.
Right.
That's where a lot of companies in the private sector fail, is when they hit 100 people. So when you're down to, 100 people or less, most everything you can solve on your own, right? You can make it happen. Once that threshold of 100, you're talking about, insurance and lawyers, and where do you house them? Are they all remote? Do you have to lease a building? And everything that goes with that.
Funding to grow that and support that growth.
So I learned, from obviously I had a battalion budget to manage. You had 265 people, and deploying them down in South America to do their operations and bringing them back, and all the logistics that goes into that.
Would the different battalions do rotations to South America?
Yeah.
And how that worked?
Yeah.
It was just constant somebody down there?
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
So, yeah, we always have someone deployed.
That's crazy. So at what point did you have the idea to start Imperio then?
I think it was about a year before I got out. I knew I wanted to do something different.
And were you going through was it the Honor Foundation, the Special Operations kind of transition program at the time?
Yeah, so the Honor Foundation, I was in that. So it's a nonprofit that helps operators transition. A great organization. I'm really glad I got to go through it. But I was knowing I wanted to do something. What do you do when you get out? You want to go back to the contractor gig and still kind of be there or not? And I already talked about it before. During that transition program at THF, you get a mentor, an advisor, right? Mine happened to be Guy Hart, who's the CEO, and their whole thing is to answer your questions. What is it like on the private side? And they're more senior. Their advisors have been there and done that.
Yeah.
And you talk it out. Hey, I want to be a dog catcher today. All right, man. Why do you want to be a dog catcher today? And then they, just talk it out. You got somebody free and clear.
Yeah.
And I had brought that up. I was like, hey, I think I want to be a consultant, looking at, McKinsey & Company or the other big four. Can I, get in that? And as we worked it, a guy's like, I think you'd be better off just to start your own little boutique consulting firm and just go. And I was like, you know what? Let's do that.
And at the time, did you realize the challenges that lied ahead? And
no, not at all. I'm like, yeah, let's do that. Right. You had mentioned the cryotherapy, right? Did a business in 2015, Glosse Cryotherapy, which, whole body cryotherapy work is very, accepted now in 2022. In 2015, it wasn't. I had the right idea at the wrong time. So that was a good learning point of, you can have all the right stuff, and it's just not the right time to put it out there.
Oh,
so,
product too soon in the market.
In the big picture, I failed, right? It was a failure, and it was an expensive learning curve, right? Luckily, I was able to pull it back together and sell what I had within the business to someone else that wanted to start in a better location. So, I was able to get out of it, made a little bit of return on my equipment. It's like, whew, that was tough. And then that's all talking about, your family. And about to retire, I was like, hey, my wife Luce, I'm like, hey, I'm gonna start a business. She's like, didn't want to hear about it because of the last one. I was like, no, it's different. This is different this time. But now, it turned out, because you provide a service is always hard, right? If you're selling a product, physically you can touch it, right? But if you're selling a service, people have to trust you that you actually are the person to talk to, and you have to find something that service is value added to what they're doing.
And find a company that has the budget for it.
Yeah, no one ever. Yeah, we talked about that at dinner last night. And one of the first questions I always ask, I'm talking to, from doing the client and business dev is, hey, what'd you spend last year on your employees, on their personal development or their professional development? 9 times out of 10, they're like, oh wow, nothing. So do you have a budget for that? They're like, oh well, sometimes we do a get together at the end of the year.
Think about it,
right? That you get a big get together. I was like, oh yeah, you should do that. But how about we're talking about the military schools we went through, investing in your leaders, teach them the next steps. Well, I think it's very important, especially now, right? Talent retention. You want to keep the talented folks. Well, show them that you care. Like, people is your number one resource. You can always get a new gadget, right? But a human being that knows your product and truly believes in what you do, you're going to win every day. So you got to put the time back into it to make them know, hey, they care for me, so I'm going to work, right? That's what we used to always tell our soldiers, right? Hey, you're first, man. Which, people say that, it's sometimes lip service.
People buy people. Yeah, partly selling yourself.
Yeah, so I was telling them, if you take care of your people, they'll take care of everything else. So that's what you got to I think as a leader, that's what you got to focus on, is your people. Take care of them. Everything else will work out.
But you really haven't had time since you retired to just take a breather.
No, I mean, we ran that first program in February 12th.
But do you like it? Are you having fun with this, so to speak?
It's awesome.
Yeah.
It's amazing. The guys I bring back in, I used to work with, they love it. They're always like, hey, when's the next program? I'm like, I don't know, find me one. Invite 'em. But we got some good things lined up.
But you launched a virtual kind of mentor training program as well, right?
Yes. On the virtual side, we were like, because talking to folks and the clients are like, it's hard for me to get everyone outside, right? I can't take 3 days off. That's the number one thing that you should hire us, because you can't take 3 days away from your computer. But, all right, so I'll adapt, right? Green Beret, all right, man, I'm having trouble getting people to me. Well, I'll put my thing virtual. Everyone loves computers. And everything is, first thing somebody asks you if you say, I got a business, yeah, what's your website? So we took it and did a virtual mentorship. So you get at your own pace. But if you did it 16 weeks, if you just opened it up and went 1, 2,
wow.
16-week program where you have your own Green Beret mentor, right, that works directly through it. And we take you through aligning the steps on unconventional warfare, right, of how you buy with and through, go out and help take a country back over. So we joked, we're like, well, if we take a country back over with 12 guys, we can help you figure out to get your life run the way you want to. That's what we do. It's focus down where you're completely in the weeds of your business and your life. And we start off with like, why do you get up in the morning? Why do you do what you do?
Interesting.
And then we take them from that through the program where at the end they should be hands off their business. And we do that through some psychological testing and with our docs. A lot of our thing is not just, it is experience-based, but we have, science-based, proven, like, this works. Do this, and it works. And we just go through it. You do some reading, you watch some videos, and then you do a call with your coach or your facilitator, and you have 7 phases. You go through it, and it's great. I mean, you can do it anytime in the world, anywhere in the world, and sign up. I mean, where else can you get a Green Beret mentor?
Yeah.
And the mentor we have, the primary one, is open in 3 different businesses. It's successful right now.
Wow.
I mean, and he did it in the fitness arena, which is super tough. Opening a gym.
Oh.
So he's done that. So, and he's also, Green Beret. So we got that as virtual programming. We have the performance analytics where you can take an assessment and work through with our docs and get with just about 90 minutes of one-on-one, you have a whole new, outlook of how to perform better. We try to make everything. If there's a challenge or opportunity you can address, we try to find something that'll help you do it.
What, to circle back around on that then, where did the real estate stuff come into play, and how'd you get into that?
Yeah, but I've been keeping that I didn't talk about that much because a lot of the folks I was going to for mentorship on the business side were like, hey, you might not want to talk about that. You're not taking Imperial serious. And I was like, well, real estate's a big part of it because no one's giving me any money, right? I'm my own angel investor.
Yeah.
And I do that because, one, in 2015, my wife let me touch my own money. And anyone in business knows you should not use your own money. So when I started, that was one of the the lines in the sand. Yep, you can start this business. You can't touch $1 of ours.
Wow.
I'm like, man, that's tough to start a business. I don't have any money. But during the pandemic, I was at that, no one's doing it. I was like, well, let me get my real estate license. You mentioned it. Everywhere we lived, we bought a cheaper house, fixed it, sold it for profit.
Wow.
Familiar with it, but I did it, and then it really kicked off. I had a lot of success doing real estate. I was actually, to my horn, the top newcomer, number one in the Northwest Florida for the first 6 months I did real estate. I was like, oh, there we go.
Wow.
And then I've kept that going. I take all the money I made from real estate and I pour it back into Imperio. And that's how I posted, I think, on LinkedIn the other day. If people follow me on LinkedIn, we've been in business like 2 years. A lot of that was conception, right, of figuring out what do I want to do. But after 2 years, now Imperio is debt-free.
Wow.
Right? So how many startups can say, with no angel investments, no backers, not touching their own money, their business is debt-free? And real estate did that.
It's a big deal.
Right? So they enabled me to do that. You're still working at the team, right? You get a new teammate every time. Every someone wants to buy or sell a house, you're on the team, right? The whole mission is sell the house for the most profit, or the other team get the house as cheap as you can do it.
Yeah.
There's a balancing act. And we put together some other folks, real estate team called Empire 850. And we're trying to do that. We're trying to bring our perspective of we're going to work harder than anyone else to get you the best deal, because I care about people. I always tell people, I was like, I don't care about the commission. I'm like, do I need it? Yeah. But you're a person, you want a house. So I want you to get that house.
It's a very personal sale. I mean, somebody has their
life is putting on you, right?
Right.
They're most people's biggest purchase is their house.
Oh, yeah.
And houses aren't cheap.
Well, I definitely know the feeling of funding one business with another, because I've been doing that for a while. And, it's coming to an end here where the other business is about to be self-sustaining. Otherwise, I'm not. I can't keep funding it. Just to be candid.
No, you can't.
You could kick the can down the road, but eventually the road comes to an end.
Yeah,
and there's got to be a profit or some sort of resolution.
Yeah, you just can't do it, right? As much as you love it, at some point, it has to be able to pay for itself.
So it is clear that the Green Beret in you is definitely given you that ability to just adapt, roll with the punches, keep going, face challenges, and just always keep going.
Yeah, that's because you can't stop. There's always someone counting on you.
Yeah.
Right? So it's beating in my brain that if somebody else is counting on me, I gotta do it. I gotta perform.
And ones that I'm going to relate this to entrepreneurs that aren't in Green Beret. They still had to get that somewhere. I mean, it's not easy to be an entrepreneur. You have to have that mentality of I'm going to keep going and face challenges and pick it back up, because you're going to wake up and, man, I'm telling you, the past two years, it's almost like I wake up, it's like, how hard can I get kicked in the face today and just keep going?
Yes. I feel you spend an hour on the phone, you think everything's going great, and we're like, we don't have the budget for you right now. Or we love what you do. This is amazing. Okay, cool. Yeah, but we don't have the time or whatever. But just keep doing it, and you find clients that want to invest. We have some standing clients now. Obviously, we always can use more.
Yeah.
And we'll be always proud. We'll go anywhere in the world. We're small, agile. Me and my men and women will pop to anywhere you tell us to go.
So what does the next year of Imperio look for you, or the next 6 months look like?
So right now we go... Going back, you'll love this story. So last year, through the Honor Foundation, I got invited to an Austin event where they're doing a fundraiser. And they try to put a special operator at each table.
Oh.
That's a THF alumni. And say, hey, this program helped me. And they have all their donors there. So I was one of the special operators there, right, share my story. And this year... once again, through blessings of real estate, Imperial bought a table and donated back to the Honor Foundation, because I really believe in it. So I put my money where my mouth is, right? The CEO, Matt Stevens, is like, hey, because it's free for the soul, 100% free. You don't pay anything to go through the Honor Foundation. But they say, hey, if you ever make it and you want to help, right? I'm not saying Imperial made it like that yet, but was able to donate it back.
That's good. That's cool.
First level, breaking it, but it felt really good, right? I feel like they helped me launch Imperio, so I gave money back. So now it'll be a table of 8 Imperial folks.
Oh, wow.
I don't think we need a special operator at our table, but hey, give us some of the other folks. But yeah, I'm really happy to do that. But that lines up. We're back in Austin, and then working with CBRE, which is
Yeah.
the world's largest commercial real estate firm,
Wow.
through Honor Foundation again at a networking event. I met the vice president of their Austin branch. That's the right word. We were talking about how we could work, right? And he came up to have like an entrepreneur showcase of people, not necessarily veterans, right? In Austin, the entrepreneurs in Austin. And we were lucky enough to be picked to be one of the.
Wow.
So
That's cool.
5-6 October, Imperial will be presenting to the client base of CBRE and other whoever is going to be on the ticket. And it's a little bit different where instead of a sales pitch, we're actually going to teach. Right, everyone's coming is going to provide a service. Not because why don't you get everyone together? Just do a sales pitch.
Yeah.
Let's make it different. So we're actually going to do the Green Beret approach and some creativity with Vaughn. Get some Legos and Green Berets. No one knows what's coming for them.
Has your wife been liking this new post-retirement you?
It's all right. She said I need to take a break. She's like, you're supposed to be not working. I was like, yeah, but I want to work super hard now. So at some point, I don't have to.
Could totally retire.
I can totally retire.
Yeah, I hear that.
But yeah, that's CBRE is a big thing that we got coming up. So looking forward to that, and then working with a client with the performance analytics of helping them develop a leadership program to implement. But that's what Imperial's got going on. But just keep looking for new clients. Hopefully CBRE go. You'll see us more on LinkedIn, and we're here.
That's cool, man. So how do people find you, your website?
Yeah, we got the website. Really proud of it. So www.imperial-consulting.com. Don't forget the dash. You won't find us. And then obviously we have a Vimeo with our showcases. We've got a YouTube channel with everything that we do. Those are the main ways you can find us, or hit me up on LinkedIn. I'm active on there. Be able to find us.
Awesome, brother. Well, man, I appreciate you coming on and sharing your experiences, and definitely any company I know can benefit from working with you and your team and learning from that Green Beret approach.
Hey, I appreciate you taking the time and having me out to your show. I truly appreciate it. You got an amazing concept of how you do your podcast. This has got to be the coolest podcast I've been on yet.
Appreciate you, man. Well, we're going to keep pushing it forward as much as we can.
All right, appreciate it.
Awesome, brother. Thank you.
Yeah.